Carbon steel can sear like cast iron, heats fast like stainless steel, and releases food like non-stick. At least that's what the companies selling it want you to believe. But is it really an all-purpose miracle pan, or is the hype around it overblown? In this video, I tell you the truth about carbon steel cookware. You'll learn the pros and cons and how it compares to other types of cookware like cast iron, stainless steel, and non-stick. I also share cooking, cleaning, and maintenance tips so you can avoid beginner mistakes and get the most out of your pans. So if you're thinking about buying carbon steel, or you're hesitant to use the pans you've already bought because of the seasoning process or the ugly appearance, this video's for you. First of all, what is carbon steel cookware? Its makeup is similar to cast iron, but it has a couple key differences. Carbon steel is made up of 99% iron and 1% carbon. Cast iron is 97 or 98% iron and 2 or 3% carbon. The difference in carbon content is crucial. The higher carbon in cast iron makes it harder, but also more brittle. That's why cast iron has such thick walls. Thinner walls would be prone to cracking. Carbon steel, with its lower carbon content, is more pliable. In other words, it can be bent and shaped without cracking. This allows carbon steel cookware to be stamped or pressed into shape rather than poured into molds like cast iron. And because of that, carbon steel pans are made thinner and significantly lighter than cast iron, while still being incredibly durable. One thing that carbon steel and cast iron have in common is that the material itself doesn't conduct heat well. Compared to materials like aluminum and copper, which are often used as the core layer in stainless steel cookware, carbon steel and cast iron both have low thermal conductivity. However, because carbon steel pans are typically made thinner than cast iron, they heat up much faster and respond to temperature changes more quickly. To prove this point, I conducted a simple test using 3 made-in pans. They're 12-inch carbon steel and stainless steel frying pans, and their 11-inch enameled cast iron skillet. Before I show you that, I want to quickly thank Made In for sponsoring this video. I've been recommending this brand since I first tested their pans in 2018. If you're just getting into carbon steel or looking to upgrade, they are one of the best brands you can buy. To test how quickly these pans heat up, I placed them on the same burner at the same temperature and measured each pan's surface temperature after exactly 1 and 2 minutes. The stainless steel pan heated the fastest, which wasn't surprising since its core layers are aluminum and aluminum conducts heat fast. Thanks to its relatively thin construction, the carbon steel pan wasn't far behind. And not surprisingly, cast iron heated the slowest. To validate these findings, I conducted a second test. I preheated each pan on medium for exactly 45 seconds, greased the surface with a small amount of butter, and added 1/3 of a cup of pancake batter. After 1 minute, I flipped the pancakes and cooked them for an additional 30 seconds. I allowed the burner to cool down completely between testing each pan and maintained the same heat setting throughout. The objective was not to cook the perfect pancakes. It was to see how quickly each pan heated while controlling all other variables. The stainless steel pan cooked the pancake fast and evenly. Carbon steel heated quickly, but one side of the pancake cooked more than the other. And the cast iron pan heated so slowly that the pancake wasn't even close to done when the timer went off. The point is, carbon steel heats faster than cast iron because it's thinner, but slightly slower and less evenly than stainless steel because it has lower thermal conductivity. Another factor to consider is heat retention. To test this, I heated each pan to exactly 400 degrees Fahrenheit before taking it off the burner. After 5 minutes, the surface of the carbon steel pan was 112 degrees Fahrenheit. The stainless steel pan was 123 degrees Fahrenheit, and the cast iron pan was 178 degrees Fahrenheit. These results didn't surprise me because heat retention usually aligns with thickness. Although it varies by brand, in the case of Made In, their cast iron pan is by far the thickest, followed by stainless steel and then carbon steel. So if carbon steel pans, especially thinner ones like Made In, don't heat as fast as stainless steel and don't retain heat as well as cast iron, you're probably wondering what they do well. The answer is responsiveness. When you turn the heat up or down, the temperature of the pan changes quickly. This gives you more control. For example, if you're frying and the oil is too hot or cold, you can quickly correct it. When you turn the heat down on a cast iron pan, it takes a while for it to cool down. The downside of this is that you need to pay close attention when cooking. If you don't, the pan can quickly overheat and burn your food. Keep in mind that the thickness and therefore heat properties can vary greatly by brand, but in general, carbon steel is more responsive than cast iron, and in some cases, it's more responsive than stainless steel. One of carbon steel's biggest strengths is its versatility. It's compatible with all cooktops, even induction, and you can use it safely in the oven, under the broiler, and on a grill. In fact, the made-in carbon steel pan is safe up to 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. Because of its high heat tolerance, it's ideal for searing and browning. Certain meats might stick slightly, but if you leave them for a minute and allow a crust to form, they will naturally release from the pan. Because it's much lighter than cast iron, it's great for sautéing vegetables, tossing food, and any other situations that require you to lift and maneuver the pan. A well-seasoned carbon steel pan releases food similar to a non-stick pan. However, you still need oil or butter, and if the seasoning is worn down in some spots, delicate foods like omelets and scrambled eggs can still stick. The lightweight construction, high heat tolerance, and relatively slick surface make it fantastic for one-pan meals and recipes that require searing on the stove and finishing in the oven. The one major limitation with carbon steel is acidic foods. A squeeze of lemon or a splash of wine won't hurt, but prolonged exposure to acidic foods like tomato sauce will strip the layer of seasoning right off the cooking surface. Bare cast iron pans have the same issue. For acidic foods, stainless steel and enameled cast iron are better options since there's no seasoning to damage and those materials are non-reactive. The downside to stainless steel and enameled cast iron is that delicate foods like eggs and fish are more prone to sticking. I've mentioned seasoning several times, so here are the basics that you need to know. Carbon steel consists primarily of iron, which rusts when exposed to water and air. To prevent this, seasoning the pan is necessary. The idea of seasoning might seem daunting, but it simply refers to the process of baking a thin layer of oil into the pan. Some brands like Made In come pre-seasoned, so you can cook with them right away. But many other brands don't. Either way, you'll need to re-season your pan periodically as the coating wears down or if rust appears. You can season carbon steel pans on the stove or in the oven. In both cases, you need to scrub the pan clean, coat it with a very thin layer of oil, and heat it until the oil hardens through a process called polymerization. There are many different approaches to seasoning, and I'll link to mine in the video description, but there's one key thing to remember. When you coat the pan with oil, wipe it until the pan almost looks dry. If you use too much oil or don't wipe it thin enough, your pan will be sticky and you'll have to start over. The fact that you need to season carbon steel pans may seem like a major downside, and for some, it's a deal breaker. But you don't need to do it often, and after you do it once, you realize how easy it is. Don't obsess over the perfect seasoning. After the initial process, just cooking with the pan builds and maintains the seasoning. Your pan might look splotchy after 1 or 2 seasonings, but it will darken over time. And if you're really worried about it, go with a pre-seasoned pan. Cleaning is another aspect of carbon steel that some people make a big fuss about. Some say that you can't use soap because it will ruin the seasoning, and others say it won't. In my experience, mild dish soap does no harm. If you're worried about it, you can skip the soap and use a chainmail scrubber or deglaze the pan with water to loosen any stuck-on bits. The 2 rules that I do highly recommend are 1, don't put carbon steel pans in the dishwasher. The hot water, steam, and dish detergent will ruin the seasoning. And 2, always dry your pans completely after washing them. Even a well-seasoned pan can rust if moisture is left on it for long periods. One more important thing on this topic. If you notice tiny black bits on your food when you cook with carbon steel, or if you wipe the pan with a paper towel and the towel turns black, that's a sign that you need to deep clean your pan. Those black bits are either tiny pieces of the seasoning flaking, burnt food, or both. The good news is that the problem is easy to fix. Scrub the pan with steel wool until you can wipe it without the paper towel turning dark. Then give it a quick seasoning. One of the biggest advantages of carbon steel is its durability. It won't crack or break if you drop it, which can happen with cast iron, and there's no coating or enamel that can wear down or chip. You can use metal utensils and even cut food in it, although I try to avoid that because the sharp edge will scratch the seasoning. But even if that happens, you can always apply a new layer of seasoning. Carbon steel is one of the rare products that gets better with age. The more you use it, the better the seasoning develops. The one thing you need to be cautious about is warping. If you expose it to drastic temperature changes, like rinsing it under cold water when it's piping hot, the metal can expand and contract unevenly, which leads to a wobbly, unusable pan. The bottom line is that carbon steel does live up to the hype, but it's not without flaws. If you're ready to give carbon steel a shot, Made In offers a range of high-quality options, including skillets, woks, and griddles. Their skillets are made in Sweden and come pre-seasoned, so you can start cooking right away. If you want to learn more, I'll link to their full lineup in the video description. If this was helpful, check out this video where I break down the pros and cons of Made In's most popular cookware collection, stainless steel. And for more videos like this, click the logo to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.